Hello and welcome to the MHR podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Alice.
Alice, this Friday, today, this podcast goes out into the world, is the beginning of a significant multicultural athletic event. I gave it away. It's the Olympics.
It is indeed. It's the Olympics. Yeah.
So everyone's going to be talking about that. It's a really nice kind of global spectacle, right? And obviously, for as long as it's been running in kind of a modern context, everyone's been making parallels with the Olympics and, well, in our case, business.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
way to make it a bit more interesting, right?
Let's bring it back to
Yeah,
business.
bring it back to business. So there's a few articles I've been reading, which is how we seem to start every episode, right? And it's really interesting to see how people can make parallels with these things. And I think it's something that we found when we were at Festival of Work. We were talking to performance specialists, performance coaches, and they were all talking about the parallels. But when we talked to Jonathan Mayles, right?
Yeah.
An Olympian himself who then coaches all kinds of international teams on performance, he directly applied those techniques into a business setting.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of parallels we could observe while we have a look at this year's Olympics.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting as well because with the Olympics, like I say, it's a really historic event. And to think kind of, as a business, you're building your own history. But actually, when you kind of look at the foundations of what makes up a business or what might make up something like the Olympics, these articles are really pointing out that they do parallel each other, which is an interesting point. But I guess we want to dive into it and say, well, what are the parallels then?
Well, there's some key obvious ones, right? I wanted to point out. So teamwork. Right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
There's goal setting and commitment to hitting a peak level performance.
Yeah, and when we're talking about level of performance, you couldn't get
Olympics, so you're a
individuals, could
pinnacle,
you?
right? You're an Olympic athlete, you're top of your game, you are peak performance.
Can you imagine having that you are the world's best at swimming? World best.
I'm sure you're the world's best at something. It just might be really niche. I'm probably the world's best at making sure I can get like 4 Weetabix into a bowl crushed with the right quantity of milk to make the perfect consistency when you mush it up.
Do you eat it straight away?
No, I like to.
Do you wait it to soak? Yeah, you might have nailed that one.
Yeah, see, it's a good, with a bit of sugar. I'm not saying everyone likes it, but if you do it that way, I'm probably the world best at it.
Right, I'll make it my mission.
But, everyone's good at something. But, these key competitive sports where it takes a lot of determination, a lot of commitment setting, there's a lot of parallels we look. Deadlines, whether it's 9 seconds or, a year, or actually do you have strict training regimes with deadlines and key targets that you have to meet?
I guess on that point, focus.
Yeah.
It's a whole lifestyle change, but you think about an athlete and you talk about the deadlines, it's, they can build up for the 4 years that they're waiting and they get a minute, to perform at their absolute peak. So it really goes to show that if you're taking that maybe as a pinnacle example, if you put it into maybe a business setting, it's, you think about, okay, how do you make the most of the best time in that 1 hour meeting you have?
Well, is the outcome different, but the approach is very similar? I think that's quite interesting. So I was reading an article. I don't think we should go into the details of it, and I think, you can Google what you like, can't you, about, what's business like in the Olympics and what are the parallels and all that stuff. But I thought we could just go skim over some of the headlines and we can reflect on them. So the first one is, in one way that you can compare the Olympics to a business setting or achieving success in business is that for both, first you need to know what you want to achieve and then plan how you reach those goals.
Right. Okay.
So I think that's very similar to how we work here, right? We have a business plan.
Yeah.
We have an objective for the year, and then we have a strategy to hit that.
Exactly.
It's the same in what a high-performance athlete needs, but it's on a personal level.
Yeah, definitely. But again, you need buy-in.
Yeah.
That's it, isn't it? There's no point putting it on paper if you're not believing in it. So I guess,
exactly.
If an athlete, you have to believe that it is achievable.
So you need a company culture that is behind that plan so you can hit that target.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They recommend that, like both Olympics and business, you need to be in it for the long haul. It's not just about instant quick wins.
Yeah.
You don't, and you can say, but if you run a race, we do the hurdles in 20 seconds, that's a quick win. It's not a quick win because you've also spent 4 years getting to the point where you're over the level where you can get there, right? For that one single performance, which is going to work. Could be very similar in business. We talk about account-based marketing, or we talk about some form of long-form lead generation. Okay, it wasn't just a lead. or it wasn't just a business contract that we signed. That was maybe 3 years worth of work to identify that customer and make sure we made a narrative and story that was relevant for them so they could achieve success. All of these things are a long form journey.
It does, yeah, whether they know it or not.
Yeah. Celebrate your accomplishments and manage your expectations.
Oh, I like that one actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that's a big one. I think if you reflect on the Olympics, it's on a global scale, which is brilliant. It's celebrated all around the world. But again, it's creating that culture that's really nice because it brings people together.
Yeah.
But in a business setting, if you're not if you've got recognitions, awards, maybe you have a day to celebrate individuals.
Yeah.
Again, it should bring a nice team culture to your business.
Yeah.
So
and identifying what is your measure of success, right? And we do that in business. For example, a lot of athletes, it'll be about winning. Some will be just be getting there. Because we're like, you know what? I'm really early on in my journey and I'm not going for gold right now. I'm going to be in the first 8 that compete for that gold. And that's my journey because in the next time, I'm in top 3. And the next time, I'm number 1. Mm-hmm. If you're a startup business, you might take a very similar approach. You're not going to go, okay, I've just set up the business this year and I'm going to compete with the global players. No, I'm going to compete regionally.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make sure I'm top of the pack there. And then I'm going to expand. And then I'm going to actually find my market or find my groove.
Yeah.
Like
So
success isn't top of the tree globally straight away. Success is a level that I decide is a win for me.
Completely, and individually as well. You know, I think it's important to have your own personal goals in your professional life and personal life.
Yeah.
But something that is achievable, so that when you hit, reach far but not too far, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely. I think there's a realistic measure to them, but ultimately they should be there to push you.
Yeah. Also, it's a good reality check. So setbacks can happen. You might lose the race, or you know what, you don't get that deal, or actually you don't. You miss out on someone that a competitor's doing or an opportunity.
Yeah.
Setbacks happen, but they don't have to impact your success. You don't have to let them impact your success.
No, and there's always a learning, isn't there? I think that's the saying, isn't it? If there's a failure, there's always a learning.
Yeah.
So it's what can you learn from it? I think then you're showing maturity, aren't you? That you're wanting to develop.
I completely agree. Both Olympics and business are all about trying to be your best at all times. Now we talk about this a lot at MHR. Getting the best, get your best work, finding your flow, like a high performance athlete.
Yeah.
Finding your flow, getting your best work, and performing at your best ability.
Yeah, definitely. And then it's always a question of, well, what can you do to perform at your best ability?
Yeah.
So there's probably a bit of a reflective piece, or for businesses, reviewing on what works well in your business.
Yeah.
Where there might be a lack of efficiency, where you could be investing more for kind of that long-term success.
Yeah.
So I think there's kind of, two sides to that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think it comes around in a circle. If you're performing at your best, you're feeling your best, aren't you?
And I think also how you're measuring that. So metrics, we talked about it a bit before, but also I don't know if you've seen it now, but you see a lot of these high performance athletes, maybe like footballers or Olympic athletes that like we're working solo or as a team. They have so much gear on them now that can measure their metrics, right? Like their body performance, their speed, how their body battery's doing, what's their sleep pattern like, how's their nutrition working. It's also data driven now.
So much data.
Because you can use that data to make small marginal changes which have a huge impact when you're performing.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we be taking exactly the same approach to a team game such as a business?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think there was, I don't know if we brought it in one podcast, but we were speaking about the F1 and the data.
Yeah.
And kind of what MHR's learned. I think we've taken a bit of an approach
being
to how
data
the F1
driven is key, and I think a load of businesses are recognizing that, because especially how we can use kind of software to manipulate data or automate that data to create impact, it's essential. And that's what we talk about every day, right, till we're blue in the face. At the end of the day, if you have something in place that collects your people data and how they perform, you can identify opportunities to improve that performance. If you can do that, you can improve productivity. But if you aren't even capturing the data to begin with, how are you going to measure what success looks like for you?
Definitely.
So metrics is key.
Absolutely.
Focus you talked about. This article says the same. It says that you can't do everything. It doesn't have to be just, you can't just do ice. You can't do dancing ice and then be on a Canadian hockey team and specialise in all of those things really well. You've got to be able to pick the sport that you are good at And then you've got to be able to make sure that you kind of really solidify where you're going to improve and make those changes for your performance. So
Yeah.
you can't just try and do everything for. And I think at work we get guilty of that, right?
I was just about to bring up that point.
How much do you try to do a bit of everything and then realise, actually, I'm a specialist here and this is
Yeah.
what I should be good at?
Yeah.
Like, allow other people to be good in other areas.
Definitely. I think and that shows as well, I think, whether you're kind of at the top as a business owner and,
Yeah.
as your business is growing, you do have to dedicate,
Yeah.
and it's a skill in itself. But if you kind of filter down all the way to HR managers, it's about kind of the influence you have rather than the control and kind of, trying to make decisions for others.
Yeah.
But definitely a key one, I think everyone should hold up their hands and say that we're guilty, that we don't quite want to let a certain thing go. But ultimately, like I say, if you spread yourself too thin, you can't be giving your best work to something that you are good at or something that your skills really could be leveraged in to make an impact.
Well, it's a nice tie around to the first point we made, right? Because all of us are the gold medalist or the best in the world at something.
Yes.
And hopefully we're in our jobs maybe because we feel like we're really good at that thing, and that's the thing that we'd win the medal for. So it's a nice reflection, a reminder to focus on that, because that's where the business is getting value from you. You're the best at that. So let's do that, and how do you harness and utilize that to make the business better and actually make the world of work better?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, definitely.
Even if it's just I'm the only one who knows where the paper is for the photocopier, I'm needed.
Yeah, you're all needed.
You're all
but no,
needed.
it's really true. I think we forget that, don't we? I think we're probably so busy just trying to kind of get the job done that you forget that you are good at what you do.
Well, that marginal difference thing as well is important. We talked to Jonathan Males about it at the Festival of Work, but we also there's a lot of research about it. I think it goes back to, I think it's the Sky cycling team, GB Cycling. And their practice of actually going, let's stop to try and improve everything. Let's just make 1% difference in your day and your routine, and it'll make 1% better at your performance. And you keep adding on that, you'll make a huge change and impact. Businesses are trying to do the same. Yeah. Stop trying to take over the world instantly and get all these quick wins. What can we do 1% better? And that will have a huge impact in the market and our place in it.
Definitely. Maybe that's a good point to leave them thinking on.
Maybe, yeah. What's that thing that you could do 1% better? There you go. Now, get a HR payroll software system that will measure the impact for you, and Bob's your uncle. If you want any more information, we'll be in touch. Yeah. If you do want to find out more about what we do at MHR, though, make sure you go on mhrglobal.com. Obviously, you can find us on all the social media channels, and keep subscribing to this podcast. We're out every week talking about all things World of Work.
Yeah, and if you want to hear from Jonathan Males, we do have his recording available from the Festival of Work.
It's one of our most recent episodes. Go listen to it. An extraordinary, insightful human being. We love talking to him.
Absolutely. But for now,
I've been Andy.
And I'm Alice.
See you next week.
Soon.